Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out this headline here. Forbes got an article out. Crypto law experts suggest SEC likely to lose the case and discredit Howey. But we have some other things to discuss as well. We got BNYMellon in the news, Visa, and you're going to want every single bit of it. Record inflation, you're going to want to know where. And guess what else? We got to ask the question, ladies and gentlemen. If we're talking about settlement, we need to talk about that escrow. And can the government take it? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. 1,007 billion is where we are. We're up 0.5%. Bitcoin 20,700, Ethereum 1,600 plus. XRP is at 45 cents this morning. Yeah, that's where we're at. Dogecoin's been on the move, up 98% at 11 cents. Thanks, guys. Now I don't want to get it anymore. I don't normally get it. I've never actually bought Dogecoin, but I was going to do it with the whole Twitter purchase. You know that's why it's gone up. I was going to do it, but it looks like I've missed the train somewhat here. I don't know if I'm jumping in at this point. Not financial advice. Cardano is up, 13.7%, 41 cents. Shout out to Charles Hoskinson. Doesn't matter that we disagree. According to Cryptocurrency Whale Tracker Alert, massive XRP whales have moved 313 million XRP in just one transaction. It wasn't me, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say, in speculative manner, I believe a great deal of that's probably related to on-demand liquidity. And the question remains, if we don't get a favorable ruling in this case on XRP going forward, does it go back on the exchanges? I certainly want it to. But that is why it's in court, right? This right here is Glint Pay, and I tell you what, this is making God's money just like regular money every day, anywhere, and it is amazing. If you try it for yourself, I'm telling you, you're going to love my sponsor. I love being a customer too. This is one of those things that when you start using it, you will not stop using it because it feels so good to have control of your finances through master debit card, spend physically allocated gold as money, and just getting used to that is really, really a great feeling. It really is. You have to try it to know it. Eurozone inflation soars 10.7% in October, past forecasts to record new highs. Now, I tell you, that does go hand in hand with God's money. It's just a thought, right? I'm not trying to sell a used car here. It's a service I use, and that's one of the reasons I'm using it. You may want to check that out for yourself. Hong Kong, things are afoot, ladies and gentlemen. Government has turned the corner on crypto and now wishes to fully embrace it. This is almost been as bad as India. I mean, that was like a bad tennis match watching that go on, right? But you know what? Progress, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting it. Now, this is an article that is a year old, but if you watched any of the videos this weekend, we covered Visa and some new patents about NFTs, which is exciting. But there was also a Visa patent from 2020 timeframe, and I believe I pulled it up here for us as a reminder. Visa filed a patent application for processing, turning physical fiat currency into newly digitized version. At Visa, we're continually exploring technologies that might lead to new payment innovations, great financial inclusion, and a company spokesperson told CoinDesk. This was back in 2020. But I'm showing you this because we have to remind ourselves of these relationships. Now, this is a year-old article, but I'm doing it because of the NFT patents with Visa. The 2 years ago, the patent to repatriate physical paper money into CBDCs. Visa can't do that without the government's approval, ladies and gentlemen, right? And this is a reminder that Ripple Partner Currency Cloud was purchased by them last year. So just thought we'd cover that. And then we have this. Emma Yoshikawa, shout out to you from Ripple here. She shares the article in the Wall Street Journal. Think crypto is none of your business? Think again. The world has changed, but finance hasn't changed with it. It's not fast enough, not efficient enough, not innovative enough. If you had enough of not enough, then you're ready for a new approach. You're ready for money that moves across borders in seconds, not days. You're ready for markets that never close. You're ready for central banks with advanced digital currencies. You're ready for a transformative era in finance. You're ready for crypto. Crypto means business, Ripple. You know, when I see that, I think it's a constant reminder to me that this case is not criminally charged, right? This is a civil case. I just think I find that to be so, I don't know, not inspiring, but just uplifting, right? To think about the idea that however this comes out, it's some kind of a fine, and whether this was or wasn't a security, right? And then we're going to figure out a way to move forward. Remember, we've shown plenty of ways that there could be a security designation when something is a note that does not make it a share of Ripple. Watch out. Even though we have all these headwinds, and I certainly love the headwinds that we're seeing in the sales of Ripple here. But look, this is, because Ripple's got the wind to their back, right? So here we have it right here. Institutional investors are looking for familiar names to provide their crypto services, and Wall Street is delivering. Say it isn't so, but yeah, this is it. This is one of those articles that reveals exactly what we understood about this space and why the space is getting crushed right now. Because the agencies of the government are suppressing this market until they get the clarity passed and decided legislation and put it through. Whoever's in, doesn't matter to me. Just get it done and get it done right. Right? I don't need to spike the ball. Just get it across the line. And do it in a way that it doesn't stifle innovation. Do it in a way that it doesn't stifle retail investors from being able to contribute in this space and have an opportunity to really invest for themselves and their families in the next .com revolution. Give them that when you give us clarity, whether it's the case or through Congress. That's what I'd like to see. But sometimes I am concerned that we are going to see some kind of rule or legislation that makes these assets in this class in investing going to look much different than it does today. And I hope that I'm wrong about that. BNYMellon reported that 70% of institutional investors said, we're interested in getting into crypto if we had services from firms that they trust, right? This is it. Suppress the market. The BNYMellons, the Fidelities, the this ones, the that ones, they all come in and they buy the space up or launch their own platforms, and voila. The big, deep bags of institutional investors and institutional money are going to put it right in their own pockets. Jeremy Hogan comments on the Amicus Brief filings. We've had a barrage of them, and it's great because it's in support of Ripple. He said, why is it important that numerous Amicus Briefs have been filed in the Ripple versus SEC case? An Amicus Brief is called a friend of the court, and historically, ABs have been filed only in appellate and top-level courts where difficult issues have been resolved. As far as I know, the record number of ABs is 78, and those were filed in a such-and-such case. I'll let you read the word. I don't want to say it because social media is very particular about YouTubers using certain words. So you get it. In the 80s, that made its way up to the Supreme Court. That being said, it's normal to see numerous ABs in a trial level case. Definitely not. He says here, the judge's liberal allowance of Amicus Briefs in this trial level case would seem to suggest that she understands that the issues involved are complicated, novel, and that the ruling will affect a large group of people and or industry. And I think that's a good thing. And so do I. I appreciate his insights on that. And we're going to hear from Jeremy in just a moment here, a clip in an interview, that conversation that I had with him a while back, and I think it's very relevant to this day. I really do. We're going to talk about it in a second. Can the government take the XRP escrow? And that is a 100% yes. And you would think with all of the information that we found in the case and ETHgate and supporting the narrative, not narrative, but the facts of what's going on there, you would think that it would come out this way, but who knows what a ruling or a settlement will really give us, right? But I hope it gives us ultimate clarity and allows all of us to continue to be involved in the level that we choose to be. All right, right here is a great article again from Rosalind Leighton, who has been extremely critical and very much watching this space and this story very closely. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I do want to bring you down to here. Ripple had finally got the email speech documents last month. This is Brad Garlinghouse tweeted, wants you to think, SEC wants you to think it cares about disclosure, transparency, and clarity. Don't believe them. When the truth eventually comes out, the shamefulness of their behavior here will shock you. I don't think it'll shock us, Brad, unfortunately, and that's the sad commentary of that, isn't it? It won't shock us. Now that the parties have reached the end of an exhaustive discovery phase, dueling motions for summary judgment, Ripple fired off a robust set of arguments while the SEC's motion was just warmed over version of its original complaint. It says this is a case that really went south for the government. The retail XRP holders launched themselves in the case by tens of thousands, led by Rhode Island attorney John Dean. And by the way, keep an eye out for his amicus. It's going to be dropping any day, probably today, maybe. I think he said either. I think he's planning on doing that today. But at any rate, keep an eye out, keep your eyes peeled for that, because I bet that's going to be fire, ladies and gentlemen. And anyway, we know that he is preparing to drop his amicus brief. It goes on and say, instead of turning her nose up to XRP holders without comment, Judge Annalisa Torres denied their motion to intervene by saying she spent time digging into the legal precedent to see whether it was even possible for a party to make itself a defendant in a case, and came up empty, but she offered them the chance to file amicus brief instead, sending a blunt signal to the SEC that retail investors were going to have her ear when its presumptions of their motivations would be pondered. In retrospect, with all that has happened since, anyone with political instinct close to Gensler should have convinced him to fold then and there. Deaton's putative class XRP holders swelled more than 75,000, among whom more than 3,000 provided affidavits. Those affidavits were entered as evidence. We know also behind Deaton were other XRP users with no connection to Ripple who have filed amicus brief as well. They list now the Digital Chamber of Commerce, Blockchain Association. If you haven't read that brief, it is a very good brief. And we know many partners are customers of XRP. So this is getting exciting as we move towards this, ladies and gentlemen. So why is Gensler still letting his enforcement division drive the bus off a cliff? They are regular litigators, but Gensler is ultimately a political figure. Politicians, Deaton said recently in an interview, are all about turning a loss somehow into a win and moving on. Ripple's general counsel, Stuart Alderati, has made it clear that they will settle in minutes and pay a fine if the SEC will make it clear that today's XRP is not a security. There you have it. All of this. The SEC can't take the XRP, and the XRP is locked up in a cryptographically auto-locked account. I know this, you know this, but the government can. I've been having conversations about this concern for a long time. The IRS does consider virtual currency is treated as property, according to the IRS. An eminent domain is the process in which the government may seize private property and proper compensation, but without the owner's consent. Now, I'm not talking about, seizing our retail holders. I'm talking about the escrow. And I had this conversation with Attorney Seal, Jeremy Hogan, back of March of 2021. And I want you to listen because, I hope that none of this is a situation, but let's understand this idea. If we all understand that XRP has the ability, or we all just simply believe that it has the ability and utility to be used to drive it to high values of 3, 4, and 5 digits a coin, we know that they have hundreds of partnerships with banks, but the government's not smart enough to impose their own rules and ability to legally take over it. Listen what's said here in this clip here, and shout out to this gentleman.
Absolutely. Well, what Seal just said is, I'm not one to rain on a good speculation parade, so I'm going to go with you guys here. So here's my take on it. So if the U.S. government wants the escrowed XRP, it will have it. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind. And I think most U.S. citizens that aren't involved in the law in any great detail don't realize how exposed we are to our government. There's only two things that separates that XRP, if the government wants it, from Ripple and the government. One, there's your vote, because if people think that they're going to lose their vote and get kicked out of office if they do something, they won't do it. And two, there's the U.S. Constitution. And the U.S. Constitution provides some protections for something like this, and that's what Seal was referring to. I think on Twitter he was talking about eminent domain, which is I think that's the 8th Amendment.
Under the 5th Amendment, it's the takings clause under the 5th. Yeah, it's under.
Okay, so now I want to move you really quick and just jump you ahead here so you get the meat and potatoes here. Let me bring you back right into here.
The 14th, which is kind of is equal protection. So, you're taking Ripple's XRP, but you're not taking other people's cryptocurrencies. And so that would be your argument. But all the government has to do in that situation, and if you go to Seal, remember law school, we got the rational basis test and we have strict scrutiny. As soon as I passed the bar, I tried to forget it, but it's just stuck in my head. So this would be probably a rational basis test. So all the government would have to do is come up with a rational basis why the XRP was necessary or required for some nice government function, and it's gone. That's what they did with the, what do they call them? I think I wrote down here. Was it SIFMU? What's that stand for, Brad?
The SIFMU, the Systemically Important Financial Market Utility or Market Infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy enough for them to say, well, this is a matter of important government financial policy, and therefore we're going to be taking your XRP from the ledger. And I also know it's on the escrow and it's time released, and that's fine because the government can come in like the doctor when the baby's born, grab it and take it. So
see you again next month, right?
Yeah, and next month, and next month, and next month. Mm-hmm. Now, going outside of the government. Now the SEC cannot. So remember this. So the SEC only has regulation over sales. So
So that really brings us to why I'm always watching FSOC, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, right? Which is a prudential regulatory group connected to the Treasury there. And it's a prudential regulator, which sits above market regulators like the SEC and the CFTC. And then that's why I'm always really interested when we think about antitrust laws relating to legislation preventing or controlling trusts or other monopolies with the intention of promoting or competition in business. Then I think, okay, well, the legal team additions that we've seen to Ripple's legal team, they all have experience in antitrust, right? It's really pretty interesting. Even right here, you see it. Experience in antitrust, Kylie Kim. It's remarkable. And then what was interesting about Clayton Masterman here is that his strengths really are in economics and mathematics. It's there's nothing in the motion to summary judgment that suggests that the escrow is in question, right? Other than that Ripple has it. There's been no suggestion in the summary judgments on either side that is a talking point or something to do with it. But all I know is that if I'm correct in my own personal belief that XRP, let's say, or if I'm 50% correct, then I believe it's going to have an extremely high value and be used inside the financial system. RippleNet is built. KYC, AML on each end. There is not one RippleNet transaction that has taken place that is not KYC, AML. It is designed to be used in the financial system. XRP is designed to be used to help it settle where needed and applicable. So is it really wrong to think that whether it's this case or shortly thereafter, if Ripple and XRP are going to achieve their goal, I believe it will take, as David Schwartz has said, and we've covered here, a top-down approach. The internet was first adopted by governments and the military. We've yet to see that take place when it comes to digital assets and blockchain DLT protocol. Maybe just maybe, whether it's through this case or slightly after, that will be the next moment that becomes the catalyst for this space. And you talk about use case utility if a government adopts the protocol, watch out. I'm not a financial advisor, and this ain't financial advice, but it is my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.